Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this YouTube live. Just a, a big day, not a good day for the 49ers on Monday with the news, the confirmation, I guess you could say, that Nick Bosa sustained a season ending ACL injury, torn ACL. Coach Kyle Shanahan described it as clean as it gets, which certainly is no consolation for this year, but does bode well for the possibility that Bosa will be able to begin the 2026 season just as he began the 2021 season after sustaining the ACL tear in September of 2020. That was one of those games. I think it was like out of two ACL tears out of three plays with Solomon Thomas and then Bosa going off the field there, MetLife Stadium in New York with those injuries. So thanks to everybody for tuning into this YouTube live. And I received a notification overnight, or maybe at some point yesterday. I've reached 15,000 subscribers. So that may not sound a whole lot to the YouTube crowd. I know there are a lot of people who talk about the NFL who have a lot more subscribers than that, but starting off with 0 subscribers a year ago, 15,000 in 1 year. I do not take that lightly, and I am flattered that 15,000 people have hit that subscribe button. So thank you so much for that. We got a lot to talk about. I'll check out the questions over there on the side and try to answer as many as possible. Yeah, I know it has come up a lot, and it's come up a lot not just this year but last year too. The question is always about why so many injuries, and I think there are times when, as a fan or someone who covers a team, you're more in tune with that particular team than anything else. And so everything is kind of amplified as far as the number of this. And, when you're around a team and you're watching a team so often, when you see an area of the team excelling, the knee jerk reaction is always, oh, they're the best team in the league at this. When you see a team struggling, the thought is always, I think they might be the worst team in the league at this. With the 49ers injuries, last year they weren't the most injured team in the league, but they weren't far from it. And again, don't know if they're the most injured team in the league right now, but my guess would be they're not far from it. And the one, I guess, saving grace through the first 2 weeks of the season, all the way from the offseason program to training camp through that game in New Orleans, was that although the 49ers have a lot of injuries that they're dealing with, none of those injuries were considered season enders. Well, of course, that all changes with Nick Bosa going out of the lineup week 3 with the ACL. And so, so many of these injuries, how could that injury have been prevented? I don't know that it could have been prevented. I think the thing that is probably of the greater concern would be the number of soft tissue injuries. Case in point, Jordan Watkins. I don't know that his high ankle sprain could have been prevented coming out of the first preseason game. But then when he's back on the field, and he's been back on the field for a couple of weeks and going through practices, then he has the calf injury, which has not, as of now, placed him on injured reserve, but that could be where things are going, or at least he's going to be out of action for a while. 49ers do have one spot open on their 53-man roster, with them placing Spencer Burford, swing tackle, on IR with a knee injury. And so, it's so difficult to think that the 49ers training staff or medical staff or strength and conditioning staff are doing anything different than teams around the league. I see every day at practice the dynamic stretching that they go through at the beginning of practice. I don't think that how they warm up has anything to do with it. Um, and I don't think the field that they practice on has anything to do with it. Maybe call me naive, uh, but I just don't know that it's anything other than bad luck. Um, I don't know. I mean, we could have all kinds of theories. I know the 49ers have looked into it. They did make some changes. What was that? After the 2018 season, I believe it was, where they changed the structure of their strength and conditioning staff and the athletic training staff to kind of bring it all under one umbrella and have somebody who kind of oversees that. And that worked out, what coincidence or not, it worked out well from the early goings there. And then now in recent years, 2020, with the injuries that I know the 49ers blamed initially on, well, maybe they still do, on the turf there at MetLife Stadium with the injuries. I think the following week, or maybe it was that game too, that Raheem Mostert had a high ankle sprain. And so there were just all these injuries that piled up that season. 2023, I mean, I guess it's probably no coincidence, and it's probably is the way it goes around the league, is that the teams that are healthy have the best chance of going deep into the playoffs, making the playoffs, and going deep into the playoffs. And the 49ers were healthy by and large in 2019. However, there were some injuries at the end of that season that probably impacted them in the Super Bowl that year. And then, of course, they were healthy in 2023 up until the Super Bowl by and large, until Dre Greenlaw went down with an injury. Deebo Samuel was kind of a little bit banged up there as well, as was Christian McCaffrey. And then the one that probably the biggest injury of that game, well, I should say the biggest injury was Dre Greenlaw, quite clearly, with the torn Achilles. But one that didn't get a whole lot of attention was John Feliciano going out of that game with a pec injury. And then the 49ers had to put in Spencer Burford at guard, and he missed the assignment. So anyway, I don't have any answers. I know it's something that's talked about a lot, and I guess deservedly so, because of just how this team has been impacted by injuries. But I just don't know that there are any answers that will satisfy or fulfill the fan base as far as this is what they're going to do differently. Because I do think that, all the injuries are different in nature. The injury to Brock Purdy was him scrambling, getting out of the pocket, and then, probably had something to do with him playing in an artificial surface in Seattle, where his right foot gets caught underneath him, and turf toe injury that, isn't as bad as certainly the Joe Burrow turf toe injury. And also in that same game, George Kittle being engaged as a blocker and moving his man, and then sustaining a hamstring injury that lands him on IR. So anyway, let's get to the injury report as the 49ers head into this week 4 game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars come in at 2-1. They're playing relatively good football. 49ers are 3-0. So, of course, Nick Bosa out for the season with an ACL tear, as clean as it gets, says Kyle Shanahan. And of course, after the game, the 49ers did not believe it was the ACL. They didn't rule it out, but it certainly seemed to suggest, or they were talking about it, they didn't believe it was the ACL. And then they received the notice after the MRI is performed on Monday that it is, in fact, the ACL. And certainly Nick Bosa foreshadowed that with the thumbs down that he gave his family. So Bosa out for the season. Brock Purdy expected back at practice on Wednesday, and they'll see how he feels, his level of participation. But I would think that it's trending in a very positive direction as far as getting him back out on the field against the Jaguars. And maybe part of that too is that Mac Jones is listed as day-to-day with his knee injury. That's a posterior cruciate ligament injury that he sustained originally at the end of training camp. He missed a week or 10 days with that. So right now, the healthy quarterback is Adrien Martinez for the 49ers off of the practice squad. So Purdy see what his status is. Mac Jones, see what his status is. CJ West was scheduled for thumb surgery, fractured thumb that he sustained on Sunday. He is scheduled for surgery today. There is a chance that they can cast that thing up and he can go play, but he's listed as day to day, and all these other guys listed as day to day. Juwan Jennings, who did not practice at all last week with the ankle sprain, he'll be back out there. They're going to see if he can get back out there, but nothing has really changed on him. I would consider him pretty iffy heading into this game. On a positive note for the 49ers, Demarcus Robinson will be back out on the practice field. His suspension has ended, and so 49ers fully expect him to be able to step in and see some snaps. Doubt that he starts, regardless of what Jennings is going through, because it looks like the 49ers have a pretty reliable 1-2 right now, healthy 1-2 with Ricky Pearsall and Kendrick Bourne. But they're clearly lacking depth at the wide receiver position. Demarcus Robinson comes back. So it's kind of interesting, even right now, if Jennings were healthy, it will be interesting to see how the 49ers work their wide receiver room, because they have their four guys, right? It's going to be Pearsall, Jennings, Robinson, and Bourne, not in that order. I would think number one would be Pearsall, just based on how he's played so well up to this point. But that would mean that Marquez Valdez-Scantling would not be up, because Sky Moore is the return specialist that would have to be up. So they're not going to keep more than 5 receivers up on game day. Michael Williams is day to day with a wrist injury. He sustained that in the first half of the game on Sunday, returned to action and played very well. Renardo Green has a neck situation that has him day to day as this week begins. And that is it. Juwan Jennings day to day as well. Some notes coming out of that game on Sunday when the 49ers beat the Arizona Cardinals 16-15. 49ers are 3-0 for the 10th time in franchise history. I actually thought that number would be higher. And the last 2 times they started off with at least a 3-0 record, 2019, 2023. You know how those seasons ended. 49ers going to the Super Bowl both of those years. Of course, also losing to the Kansas City Chiefs both of those years. An interesting note, when asked about one of the most memorable or best regular season games I've ever seen, I would probably go back to 2019, December 8th of 2019 to be exact, when the 49ers and Drew Brees and the Saints got into that epic showdown at the Superdome, went back and forth, and the 4th down pass, Jimmy Garoppolo to George Kittle. That play, I would consider George Kittle, that very well might be the play that is run over and over again when George Kittle's career comes to an end, far down the road, of course. But anyway, that game right there before Sunday was the last time the 49ers won a game when trailing with less than 10 seconds remaining in the game. So that was a walk-off field goal by Robbie Gould. This is the walk-off field goal by Eddie Pinheiro. So kind of interesting that they had at least one chance that I can think of with Jake Moody as the kicker, and that didn't work out so well in Cleveland. But last time 49ers won it trailing with less than 10 seconds left and kicking the winning field goal. So that's been 5 years since it's happened, or at least almost 6 years since that's happened. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to take a quick swig of my coffee here, my morning coffee, as we get going with this 49ers YouTube live video. Again, thank you so much for all of you tuning into this. And I'm going to try to just go up to the top here and see what you got. I'm going to put on my readers. So I apologize for any glare that you see off of those, but it's basically the only way I can read what's been written there in the comment section. All right, what do we got here? Eddie says, thank you. I appreciate that. Bring Hercules up from the practice squad. He was awesome in the preseason. Um, you're talking about Sebastian Valdez. I don't know that they need him. I think you're probably looking more edge guy. My thought would probably be Robert Beal. Robert Beal Jr. comes up from the practice squad to take that spot and potentially be active on game days for the 49ers. Because right now, they don't necessarily need Valdez. They need somebody who rushes the passer from the outside. And right now, you're looking at Michael Williams and Yetur Gross-Matos, who are two primarily base defensive ends, and then the edge rushers in nickel situations, sure passing downs, would be Bryce Huff and Sam Okawanu. And other than that, I mean, those are the guys, I think, when you look at the edge rushers who the 49ers would have. There's really nobody else. Mike, again, 3rd down and 8. Who are going to be the guys lining up on the edge and rushing the passer? It's not going to be Michael Williams. He's going to be inside. Okawanu and Huff would be the two guys outside. Jordan Elliott, he's an inside guy. Kalia Davis, an inside guy. Alfred Collins, an inside guy. Yetur Gross-Matos as can Michael Williams, but they're best suited as part of that NASCAR package that they have rushing from the inside. And then CJ West is the other one. So it very well might be that Robert Beal, who looked better this training camp than he had since he's been with the team, it very well might be that he will get some opportunities to rush the passer in critical situations. So I don't see Sebastian Valdez getting that call right now. But hey, it's up to Robert Saleh and the 49ers to kind of figure out where they want to go with that defensive line rotation. I do know this, is that it's not going to take one person to replace Nick Bosa. Bryce Huff can make a big step forward if he continues to play the way he did in that game against the Cardinals, but it's going to take a lot of guys stepping up and playing their best football. Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Do you think we make a trade for an end? All right. It was just a matter of time. I was going to bring it up, but let's delve into this. The trading deadline isn't what a month and a half away, maybe a little bit more than that, or right around there, month and a half away. Do the 49ers hold off? Do they try to do something now when the price would be steeper and they don't know exactly where the team is going? Or do they wait until they get closer to that deadline and the price tag, both in compensation to send to another team in a trade, as well as the salary numbers would be down because they would have already played basically half the season? Do they wait until then just to see how the team is looking, how it's coming along, how the rookies are playing, where they need help, where they don't need help, what they feel comfortable giving up for the future? And, Kyle Shanahan answered on Monday like I would expect him to. They're always looking to get better. They're always open to seeing who's available, how they could add, but it takes two to tango. The other team will be using the 49ers as leverage to try to get another deal, a better deal. And so, just here's a few names that I'm going to throw out there. I know the first one probably on everybody's mind is Trey Hendrickson. This is a guy that's 31 years old, had 17 and a half sacks last year, already off to a good start. But are the Bengals going anywhere? Probably not. They look right now with Joe Burrow out to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, as they showed Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. So is that a possibility? He's making $16 million for this season. So let's just say they get him half the year, $8 million. What's it going to take? Are the Bengals even interested in trading him away when they could franchise him next year, keep him under contract? So also with the 49ers, what draft picks would it cost? And when you look at the last two drafts of the 49ers, you could make the argument that they got into deep trouble when they traded away so many of their draft picks, for Trey Lance, certainly. And then obviously to a lesser degree, Christian McCaffrey, because McCaffrey has produced in a big way for this team. But, you look at the last 2 years, the two drafts that they've had, I just wonder if it makes them put more of an emphasis on drafting these guys, not giving up those draft picks, keeping their own picks, and knowing you have those young players under contract for 4 years, and also maybe trying to reopen that window or opening a different window with, the nucleus of the veteran guys, but also this influx of young talent. Last year, getting Ricky Pearsall, Dominic Pooney, who, by the way, isn't off to a great start. Renardo Green, not necessarily off to a great start either, but both of those guys, Pooney and Green, I think the team likes them. I think they have reason to like them. Malik Mustafa, who will be back middle of the season as well. And then this draft really looks good. 6 guys out of this rookie class who are immediate contributors, and then some others who down the line could work their way into starting roles as too. But you look at this draft with Mykel Williams, Alfred Collins, Upton Stout, Marquise Siegel, CJ West, and then the 7th round pick, Connor Colby. And by the way, Connor Colby did struggle in this first game as a starter against the Cardinals. You would expect him to have struggled, seeing that he was going up against those veteran guys on the interior of the Cardinals defensive line. But so that's part of it. What would they have to give up in as far as draft picks to get a player like Trey Hendrickson? And does that make sense for the short term and the long term? Are the 49ers one edge rusher away from knocking that door down and winning the Super Bowl? I don't know. Another name that's I've heard, Cameron Jordan. With him, 36 years old, he's played 15 seasons with the New Orleans Saints. At that point, and the Saints aren't going anywhere, but does it make sense for the Saints to just cast aside a guy who's been part of that organization for so long? Do they want to make sure that they just keep him as a lifelong Saints player? Or does he say, get me out of here, I want to go to a contender? So that could swing either way. That would definitely be Cameron Jordan, I think, making that call, whether he is fine if the team traded him or not. Not much salary that the 49ers would have to pick up on that one. So that does make some sense. He only had 4.5 sacks last year in 17 games, but off to a good start this year, 1.5 sacks through 3 games. Here's some other names I'm going to throw out there. Malcolm Kuntz from the Raiders, Draymond Jones from Tennessee. Let's keep an eye on those Tennessee Titans guys, because Draymond Jones and Arden Key, 2 players who are in the final years of their contract. The Titans aren't going anywhere. Titans are right down there with the Saints as far as the worst teams in the NFL. So, if they can get something from any of those players, I would think that they would do that. Danico Autry from the Texans. Texans are 0-3. He's 34 years old. And then, I think those are the main guys that I'd be looking at. Hendrickson and Jordan, Cam Jordan, if they really shoot high, and then guys like Arden Key and Draymond Jones, Malcolm Kuntz, Danico Autry. So those are the guys who are defensive ends who may or may not have a lot left, but are in the final years of their contracts with their respective teams. So that's why I put all those guys kind of in the same category. All right, let's see what else we got here. I just listed some of the names. Injuries, sadly, are part of the game, and it's so random. No one to blame. It's just a major bummer when it happens. You know what? That's from G-Man Music. I agree. I think that we can talk until we're blue in the face about what the 49ers are doing behind the scenes to prevent injuries, to deal with injuries. I just have a really difficult time believing that what they're doing is so egregious that they're the only ones in the league getting injured. Um, when I mean, you can see the injury report every week around the league and the number of significant players who are out of lineups every week. I just think that there's an inherent risk, obviously, playing football. Um, and I don't know. Again, call me naive, whatever. I just think it's bad luck when it all boils down to it. It's bad luck, and I don't think there's any predicting injuries. There can obviously you can do things to prevent injuries and to recover from injuries and get back out there, but I can't imagine the 49ers are doing anything different than other teams around the league. Now, maybe you could look at it last year and say, well, they did have one of the oldest teams in the NFL last year, if not the oldest team. This year, they still have, some older players, but they also have a lot of young guys. So they're not the oldest team in the league. And heck, two of their oldest players are the punter and the long snapper. So, it probably skews their numbers a little bit as far as where they rank as far as age goes. But I just think injuries are part of the game, and anybody who puts on the uniform is predisposed to injuries just because of the nature of the sport. Let's see here. Season over. I don't know that the season is over, but I think it's quite clear that as good as they can be, they won't be able to be that team because Bosa is such an impactful player. With both Brock and Mack injured in some capacity, seems regardless of who starts, they'll still need Martinez to be the backup, but they can't elevate him again. So will they promote to 53? That's definitely one of the things that they'll be considering this week. Shasha was there for that. I'm assuming you're talking about that New Orleans Saints game back on December 8th, 2019. Yeah, fantastic game. There's no replacing Bosa. I would agree with that. Talking about releasing Bosa, I don't think that is. I don't think that's a real option because I do believe that his entire salary for next year is guaranteed, and so no, that would be a bad look. And I don't think it's a possibility from a standpoint. Yeah, in 2026, he's guaranteed $23.18 million. So I don't see that happening. I could see them kind of reworking or restructuring the contract to create some cap space with that projected $42 million cap space. But I will say this, while I just don't think there's any chance the 49ers would release him, you can't release an injured player regardless. So he won't be probably cleared to get back on the field until whatever it is next year, middle of training camp or right before the start of the season or some point early in the season. So they can't release him. So I would say, that's a non-starter right there. I am sitting on the sunny side of the stadium. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, I'm an ER nurse on my break watching me. Awesome. Front load the presentation, please. I hope I did that. Holland, did I front load it? Am I doing okay? Let's see here. The team, if you're still there, you might be back to work. Doing some great work, by the way. Thank you for that. And hope I see you sometime out of the work environment, Holland. I'd say the team still not dominating and barely scores enough points to win. That's true, but a win is a win. Robert Saleh now tasked to come up with alternatives to pressure the quarterback. Completely agree. I think Robert Saleh going to have to earn his money more than ever as he figures things out both on the back end with the coverages and also dialing up pressures. How much do they rely on the 4-man front to get there? How much do they bring D Winters, Fred Warner? How much do they bring Upton Stout off the nickel? So we'll see. what's up with West? He's been inactive. CJ West has not been inactive. CJ West has played every game this season. This last game against the Cardinals, he played 14 snaps. So no, in fact, he had a pressure on that play where it was the near miss for the 49ers, darn near getting the safety of Kyler Murray. Let's see here. What do we got? From your thumbnail of this video, do you think the 49ers will make the deal with the Bengals? I talked about Trey Hendrickson. I just don't know how realistic that is. I would think that John Lynch is in contact with a lot of teams and just kind of seeing where teams stand and who could be available, when they might be available, what would be the cost of doing business. But also, if you're the Bengals and you have Trey Hendrickson, and I don't know what they've told him as far as any agreement, as far as the franchise tag, his willingness to be part of a trade and to work with another team on a trade. I would think this with Trey Hendrickson, I would say that's highly, highly, highly unlikely, because I was going to say, if it were an off-season trade, he would have to have the deal worked out with the new team, a contract extension, a new contract, but maybe a mid-season trade, it would be different. Maybe he would just finish out that year with free agency so close that then he would be able to cash in on the open market. But I just don't see. I really think it's a very long shot that the 49ers could swing it with Trey Hendrickson, a deal that makes sense for the Bengals, short term and long term. Well, more long term for them, and for the 49ers, making it fit from a short term and long term. And then also, with the Bengals, if they're shopping Trey Hendrickson's services and the 49ers get involved, that price is only going to go up as his services are shopped around the league. So again, I think that's bad. West broke his thumb. Yes, I talked about that on the opening. Hendrickson would be a 1-year rental. Yep, he would be. Not giving up a second for 8 games regular season. Not sure what we're talking about there. We need to sign 2 edges to rotate eventually. Can't be hasty. We can still win without Bosa. I don't think Trey is looking to sign a 1-year deal. Well, he's scheduled for his contract to expire at the end of this season. Do you think Brock and JJ will be available to play this week? I think Brock will be. I'm not sure Jennings will be. Having Saul softens the blow. Yeah. No one could blame him. Don't think you recover from this. Yeah, that's from Ruben. I think it's a tough one. I would probably go back and forth, and let's throw this one open here in the comments section. Who's more important to the 49ers defense, Fred Warner or Nick Bosa? It's tough to say one over the other. I think my first thought would be Warner. However, getting after the quarterback is such a huge part of the NFL that is the skill that makes edge rushers the second highest paid position in football, basically. And Bosa does it as well as anybody in the league. And the drop off from Bosa to the number 2 edge rusher for the 49ers is so significant. So even though I just have a very difficult time not thinking of Fred Warner as the most important player on the 49ers defense, a strong argument could be made it's Bosa because of the impact of his position and how things drop off dramatically from him to the next guy. 49ers have 5 sacks in 2 games. He has 2 of them in 9 quarters of football, and Bryce Huff has 2. And then that's it. Upton Stout, as far as the defensive lineman, Upton Stout has the other one. Now, Williams and Michael Williams is the one guy. Never was a huge sack artist at Georgia, but he still should in this season with say a handful of sacks. I just don't know how they scheme it up to compensate for the loss of Bosa. But yeah, in the comment section, I would like to hear who you think is the most important player on the 49ers defense. Is it Warner? Can't go wrong with that answer. Is it Bosa? You could definitely make an argument for that. Let's see here. I would call the Giants about some pass rush help. Oh yeah, there was a Thibodeau, right? What is his contract situation? Again, Kayvon Thibodeau. Well, he's signed. Yeah, I don't. Gosh, I don't think the Giants would get rid of him because he is signed through 2026 with the 5th-year option. So I have a hard time believing 49ers would, or he would be available in a trade at this point. And that's the thing. Like when you have a pass rusher like that, you don't get rid of him. Brian Burns. Let's see what Brian Burns' situation is. He's up there, right? I mean, he's been around for a while. He is 27 years old. He's okay. So he's signed through 2028. And so if you're the Giants, I don't think you start unloading guys, especially when they've made the decision now to go with Jackson Dart as their quarterback. Giants have shown some good things, I think, offensively. They've scored some points here. So I don't know that the Giants would be full on sell mode when they need to see what the young quarterback is all about and if that's somebody that they're going to be building around. So I don't know that the Giants would do that, especially where they are now with, a head coach under pressure, a general manager under pressure. Why would a general manager who is basically working, whose job security is so tenuous right now, I don't see why he would want to get rid of good players to help them down the road, get a draft pick or whatever, when you might very well just be helping your successor be successful. Let's see here. Sam Okwanu. Yep. Did I mention Sam Okwanu? Yeah, I mentioned Sam, right? Yeah, so he'd be the other edge rusher, Sam Okwanu and Bryce Huff. Hope Bosa gets well soon. Really good player. No doubt about it. He flashed, but can never break the starting lineup. Sam O, usually productive when he gets a chance. What else do we have here? Bosa has 2 major ACL tears and is getting close to 30. 3 ACL tears, really. He had 1 at St. Thomas Aquinas. That was his right ACL. 2020, left ACL, and now this one's his right ACL. Let's see here. Yeah, that's been pointed out here. So I'm a few minutes behind, about 10 minutes behind on the comments. So I'm just kind of going through it here quickly. Once again, thank you for everybody for tuning in to this live chat. Oh, I want to tell you something, what I'm doing today. I have not seen Greg Papa since the diagnosis. I've talked to him a lot, but we share a favorite sandwich spot, and I'm going to swing by that sandwich spot as soon as I'm done here, and take him lunch. Probably it'll have to be social distance because he's going through chemo right now, kind of going through it, as he said on the 49ers Talk podcast, the Ask Papa segment. He has a bone marrow transplant coming up, but hey, who can't use a nice Italian sandwich when going through some rough times? So it'll be good to at least see him and drop a sandwich off at his front door or however we plan to work this. But I'll definitely be sure. I know there will be a lot of comments about Papa and wishing him well. So I'll definitely be able to pass along those encouraging words to him and the support to him. Let's see here. The game has changed so much. It's very violent to win in this league. Need defensive power and offensive power along with special teams. Yep. NFL needs to increase the roster. Yeah, we've been saying that a lot, but man, the owners don't want to give up that money. Thanks for always reporting facts and not clickbait. Thank you. What's Martinez's playing background? Adrien Martinez started his college career at Nebraska. Well, let's go back. Clovis West. So it was at Nebraska, Kansas State, right? Had some good seasons in college. Signed with the Lions. So that was back in 2023, I believe. Signed with the Lions, undrafted rookie. Didn't make the team. Goes on to the UFL and lit it up. Had a great season. Did not start the 2024 season with the Birmingham Stallions as their starter, but ended up stepping in, winning the league MVP, being named the MVP of their championship game. And then last year he was with the Jets, didn't make the 53-man roster, but was on the practice squad throughout. That's where Robert Saleh became acquainted with him. And then was among the final cuts for the Jets again this year. And when the 49ers had those injuries to Tanner Mordecai and Carter Bradley in the final preseason game, I think with a recommendation from Robert Saleh, 49ers went out and got Adrien Martinez. He's on the practice squad. That's where he's currently. Whether they move him up to the 53-man, that's to be determined. Maybe the 49ers will make some moves later today. But that is Adrien Martinez, a dual threat quarterback. Real smart guy, can throw it, can run it. And so he's learning the 49er system, game plan by game plan. Last week, he was the 49ers scout team player of the week for how he mimicked Kyler Murray during practice. I think 49ers by and large, they did a really good job on Kyler Murray. So tip of the cap and maybe an assist to Adrien Martinez for his portrayal of Kyler Murray running the Cardinals offense against the 49ers number one defense. Let's see here. Hot take. Bosa should be done with the 49ers. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that would sit well with anybody. And I can't imagine for a lot of different reasons. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan would do that. Let's see here. 49ers fan wants Black Mask wants a blowout victory. What happened to Dallas Flowers? Great question. I just saw his name a couple days ago. I believe he is with the Chicago Bears, and he was activated. He was a member of the practice squad of the Chicago Bears, and he was elevated in order to play in that game against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. And let me just see how he did. Thanks for asking. Yeah, he was in uniform. He played in that game. And looks like he made one special teams tackle and also did not play any snaps of defense, but played 8 snaps of special teams. So, yeah, Dallas Flowers is a guy that I was impressed with. I thought he'd win that final cornerback job over Darrell Luter, but the 49ers go with Luter instead, believing that he gave them the best combination of special teams and defense. Luter played 7 or 8 snaps in the game Sunday against the Cardinals after Renardo Green left for just a few plays with that neck situation. Let's see here. More Hendrickson talk. He wants a multi-year deal, of course. 49ers aren't going to give him a multi-year deal. What do you think Huff does? And does he have the ability to be successful? Huff is extraordinarily fast off the snap of the ball. He is best as a nickel pass rusher, a specialty guy, a specialist. He's not an every down defensive end. And so the 49ers are going to need him. They're going to have to play him selectively. Maybe it's 30 snaps a game, 35 snaps a game. And it's going to be, in the words of Robert Saleh, all gas, no brake, getting after the quarterback. So he's the guy that has the most pass rush juice as he showed in 2023 with that 10 sack season, but the consistency has not been there. So he's going to have to step it up and be consistent. And he's going to have to be, 10 plus sacks this season for the 49ers for him to give the 49ers what they need from that position. Black Mass says because everyone knows 49ers are desperate to replace Bosa, so the asking price will be high. To me, it's very similar to the Detroit Lions last year. So my question earlier on about who's more important, a lot of Fred's. It looks like Fred. Losing Bosa is going to affect all the other D-line productions, absolutely, and also the back end, the defensive backs. Warner, CMC, and Trent are the team's most valuable players. We'd be 0-3 without CMC and Warner. Absolutely, Fred. Okay, well, that's interesting. Bosa and Warner are both terrific. Warner is irreplaceable. I think I agree with everybody who's saying Warner. My point was just that I think you could make an argument just because of what Bosa brings to the defense. You could make an argument for him, but I think I agree with everybody who's chiming in about that. Let's see here, Shaq Barrett. Do you see the 49ers making a trade for a pass rusher immediately? I don't think it'll be immediate. I think that they'd have to kind of see where this is going without Bosa, seeing how the pieces fit together. And then I think that it would be down the line a little bit. Okay, some Greg Papa comments. Tell Papa we got his back. Definitely will. Prayers up. G-Man, appreciate you watching. Martinez was recruited by Cal. Interesting. I am not going to make him pay for his sandwich. Let's see here. Mariota looks consistently solid, but a little expensive for a backup. Yeah, they're not. 49ers aren't going to trade for a backup quarterback. Well, they got their backup quarterback. I'm not sure what that's referencing. Let's see here. What? Oh, okay, here we go. No, I don't want a blowout victory. You read that wrong. Most Niners fans are asking for this. A win is a win. We lost those games last year, 100%. Jake Moody also with the Bears. Moody's with the Bears practice squad. How long they keep a practice squad kicker remains to be seen. But yeah, he's the Bears are giving him his first chance, get him in the door and see what he's all about. Getting healthy on offense should take the pressure off the D. Yeah, I would agree with that. Need the offense to get going, crossing fingers. Maybe a second round team without Bosa. You know what? If you make the playoffs, you're in the hunt. Kayvon Thibodeau would be a great pickup. Again, I think the Giants would be silly to do a fire sale with good young players because of where they are going with Jackson Dart right now. Hey, look at that. Silent. Is that how I pronounce that? With a nice gesture there. Appreciate it. SILEHNT. Silent. Thank you. Okay. And that kind of popped up on my screen. So what if teams call for Mac Jones for a defensive end? I don't think teams will call for Mac Jones for a defensive end. That would probably be an off-season thing because I don't know that how many teams out there that don't have a quarterback in waiting would give up a quality defensive end to acquire Mac Jones? Can Mac Jones still be a starter in the NFL? Absolutely. But a lot of teams that don't have a really good starter now, they have somebody waiting in the wings. The Cleveland Browns, for instance. Is it Dylan Gabriel? Is it Shedeur Sanders? Would they give up a defensive end for Mac Jones? No. I would think that Mac Jones's value for any team would be get him at the end of the season, at the start of the new league year next year, March 15th or whenever that new league year starts, so you can have him in the building the entire off season, training camp. And if it's not a clear-cut situation where he's the starter or you don't have a clear-cut starter, then you have him compete. But I can't imagine the 49ers could get a quality starting caliber defensive end in exchange for Mac Jones in a midseason trade. So that would be my thoughts on that. Someone asks, I presume Demarcus Robinson comes straight into the starting lineup. I would not presume that. I think Jennings would be ahead of him if healthy. And I mean, the way Kendrick Bourne has played, that's kind of 50-50 to me. It very well might be that Kendrick Bourne, the way he stepped in and done a good job in 2 games. I wouldn't necessarily say that he stepped straight into the starting lineup, Demarcus Robinson. Okay. It was reported we're going to see how this practice week goes with concerning Robinson. Yeah, he's been out for 3 weeks. I would think that it won't take him long to step right back in, seeing that he was with the team the entire offseason program. Can we talk about how amazing it is that we got the 4th best kicker in NFL history? There we go. Eddie Pinheiro. Oh, look at this. Karen says Eddie is now number 3 passing Butker. Let's confirm this. I don't doubt you for a second, Karen, but let me just take a look at Eddie Pinheiro. 30-year-old kicker, 30 years old in 10 days. His career field goal percentage now is 88.5. That means he is 116 of 131 in his career. And let's take a look at field goal accuracy career. There he is. Actually, he's 88.55. That gives him an advantage over Harrison Butker at 88.235 and considerably behind Cameron Dicker, the kicker, for the LA Chargers. He's at 94. Holy cow. And Justin Tucker, who is certainly not active right now. And his career will probably end at that 89.103. So, yeah, how about that? Eddie Pinheiro coming through in the clutch. What do we got here? Somebody says there's breaking news. What's the breaking news? Did I miss something? Should I be checking my phone for text messages right now? Let's see what we got here. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier on this subject of Eddie Pinheiro, first 49ers walk-off win where they trailed and then win when they trailing with under 10 seconds left since that Robbie Gould field goal in the Superdome, 12-8-19. Somebody can do the research. When's the last time the 49ers had a home walk-off victory like that where a missed kick loses a game, a good kick wins the game? Any word on Aiyuk's progress? No, there's not. There's not. Let me show you the video I took of him running routes last week. He looks like he's running well. You can tell he's eager to get back out there. This 4th game is the final game where the window now is open anytime they want to open that window, both for Brandon Aiyuk and Malik Mustafa. However, because the 5th game is the short week where they won't even practice basically before they play the LA Rams, it just won't happen week 5. So I would say beginning week 6, that's when it starts to become relevant. That would be that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's when it starts to become relevant. Like, how close is he? I'm sure he'll have to go through at least a week of practice for Shanahan, Leonard Hankerson, and everybody on that staff, the medical staff, the strength and conditioning staff, to see how he's doing. But I don't have any update on what you're looking at there. My guess would be week 6, 7, 8, 9, somewhere in that window. Let's see. Current odds of 49ers making the playoffs, your odds, not Vegas odds. I still think they make the playoffs. They're 3-0. Their schedule is not difficult, folks. I think now, when you look at the division games, they've already won more division games than they did last year. I think if they win 2 more division games and go 4-2 in the division, that puts them in a really good spot. I think their most difficult non-division games are against, I was going to say at Houston, which is, I still can't really take them lightly despite their 0-3 start. But I would say at Tampa and at Indianapolis, which tells you that they have a lot of winnable games. So at 3-0, I still think, you get to 10 wins, you're probably going to make the playoffs. So I think they make the playoffs. I still think that, because I do think that even though the loss of Bosa is really damaging to this team, getting some other guys back, especially on the offensive side, will help them maybe compensate for that loss by putting up more points. Okay, I think this is a good place to wrap this up. In fact, I'll just cut it off at 11 a.m. on the nose. It is 10:59. We've been going at this for 59 minutes. So if you have something, get it in under the bar here. And technically, we're going to hold the number 1 spot. Karen, thank you for tuning in. Thanks to everybody for tuning in to this YouTube live. Filthy Casual, I like that. Give Papa a big hug from us. I definitely will. At least I'll give him the figurative hug. I don't know if how comfortable he would be or I would be with physical contact, but it'll be great to see him, to deliver that Italian sandwich for him. So once again, thanks to everybody for tuning into this. It's been a lot of fun. Maybe we'll try to do this quite regularly on Tuesdays. That's the Players' Day off, so I don't have to go down to Santa Clara, even though it looks like I'm there. Shh, our little secret. That's really not. I'm really not in the press box at Levi Stadium. I mean, I know you guys probably didn't know that, but yeah, that's it's not real, folks. Anyway, thanks again, and just let me kind of check in. I will definitely tell everybody that. Alex Solomon, Travis Gibson. The reason, Alex, I wouldn't say Travis Gibson gets the call up, although he might. That's a good point. Thanks for bringing his name up. The only reason I would think that maybe not is because it was Beal who was on the 53-man roster up until the point where they needed that spot, and they bumped him down to the practice squad. So we'll see. We'll probably get a good idea on that a little bit later. So once again, I'm going to end this right now, but thanks to everybody for showing up. I appreciate all your support, and hey, 15,000 strong with the subscribers. That means a lot to me, and let's keep it going, and hope you guys are having fun with this YouTube channel, because I'm having a good time doing it. So thanks again, and we'll chat with you guys soon.